What's going on, my fellow farmer brothers and sisters? All right, we're back out here on the 450 gas. It is a beautiful day out here. Got the door open, letting the breeze come through. Show you what I started, and again, like I usually say, and what we're going to do today. Stay tuned. Alright, so I think today's discussion is going to be mainly about electronic ignition on these old tractors, and it's also going to be about the wiring harness. I've looked up and down between Google searches, YouTube, some Facebook groups. Can't really find any good I guess, information on the wiring on these tractors. You know, everybody will tell you what gauge to go with. People will tell you certain things, what can go here, what can go there. Everybody's tractor is different. You could be running a 1-wire alternator. You could be running a 3-wire alternator. Your harness is now different than somebody else's. You could be running an external ballast resistor. You could have an internal ballast resistor. Changes your wiring. You could have no cigarette lighter. Some people have a cigarette lighter. Changes your wiring. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. So whenever people want to pop out like a cookie cutter, this is how you wire the tractors, and that's it. It's not it. You have a lot more entailed than that. I actually, you know, I've been to Brillman's, picked up wiring harness from them there, and I also, you know, talked to them on the phone about some things with some wiring and stuff like that. Very helpful people. Great place to deal with. Very knowledgeable. They'll definitely help you out. They'll set you straight. One thing that I was told yesterday when I talked to them at the tech side that I didn't know. They sell, obviously, wiring harnesses off the shelf. So you can pretty much get, you know, just a standard wiring harness, order off the internet, close to what you want. 1-wire alternator, whatever, generator, whatever, you can order it. And, you know, obviously they go by a serial number also. You'll find that out if you go to the website. I don't get paid by them. I just use their product. So this is not a promotion for them. I'm just giving the shout out to where it's deserved. So anyway, when I talked to him yesterday and explained, like I had a couple questions about some of my wiring and what I should do just to make sure I get everything correct on this. And he told me that actually what I probably could have done if I wanted to, I could have told them pretty much exactly what I wanted to run and how I wanted to set this up. They can make your wiring harness tailored to what you were planning on doing to your tractor. So if you were planning on running points, a 3-wire alternator, external ballast resistor, if they don't have that one already made, they'll make it for you. If you want to run electronic ignition, a 1-wire alternator, no, you know, an internally regulated coil, they can make that for you. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't realize that they would actually pretty much tailor a harness to what you wanted. I thought it was just pretty much, they made them almost baseline to what the tractors were built, and that was it. Pretty cool. I mean, now I know. And the reason I had to call them is because I did order one of the ones. Well, actually, I did a call-in order, and I went and picked it up one day. But it works. I mean, everything's great on it. I have no complaints. But I could have eliminated 1 wire that's on here now. That's no big deal. And I could have changed a couple things up. So just future note, if you guys ever want a wiring harness and you have a certain configuration that you are running, just call them and ask them. They'll hook you up. So anyway, so I guess we'll start with the diesel. So the diesel obviously runs, you know, good. The gas side sounds good. Switch it over to the diesel side, sounds good. But like a lot of the gas diesels, sometimes it can be a real pain in the ass starting up, sometimes for the first time. And then they can really be temperamental when you shut them down and you start them back up when they're hot. A lot of times the gas side doesn't want to start back up. It will give you an absolute freaking fit. So I converted the diesel tractor over to electronic ignition. Now, with that being said, I've noticed that some people will change the tractors over to electronic ignition, but they won't follow the rules. Yes, there is rules. Not saying that sometimes they won't initially start up and run the way some people are doing them, but the reason people wonder why they've burned up or haven't lasted as long as they expected, usually, again, as I say in the paint, sometimes it isn't always product error. It's the person installing its error. They cause the problem. The reason I'm saying that is because I've noticed some, people, I've noticed some videos here and there where somebody will have an electronic condition and then they'll say it burned up and they'll be surprised it burned up, and then they'll go to another company or another brand because they think the one that they used was bad. Okay, let's go with this gas 450 for an example. I switched this over to electronic ignition. When you switch these over to electronic ignition, which is limiting the points, the condenser and all that stuff, and the dust cap that goes over, that has to go because it can't fit under there. When you eliminate the points, you can't just put in the electronic ignition and be done with it. You have to put in electronic ignition. You have to make sure your coil is changed out and good, because if you have any less than a 3 ohm coil, or if you crank and it drops less than 3 ohms when you're cranking, because maybe you have the wiring wrong and it's not sending the power from the starter into that coil, doubling up the power to make it for its start, because that's how it works, you're going to burn up your electronic ignition. So you need at least a 3 ohm coil and higher to make these electronic ignitions work properly. I have a 6 ohm in here, so that way I know when I hit that key and it sends power over, I'm getting 12 ohms of power to that coil when it's energized. I know that puppy's going to put some serious fire into there and fire this thing up. So electronic ignition is your first step. Your second step, change your coil out. Do not use your stock shit, junk, whatever coil, because even if you think you have a 12 volt, you could have a 6 volt. Guess what? It's going to be pretty low. You're going to burn up that electronic ignition. Just like points. If you run your point system and you have your 3 ohm coil and for some reason it keeps dropping lower than 3 when you're starting, you burn up your points. It's the same principle, just now it's with electronic ignition. So you change out your coil. The third thing is your wires. A lot of people will actually run copper wires instead of high suppression wires. Run high suppression wires. They absolutely, hands down, require you, when you order from PerTronix, to run high suppression wires. If you want to get all the technical reasons and details, like all the way down to every spec, email them. They'll respond back to you and tell you why. I mean, it has a lot to do with the radio frequency, and there's different things that has to do with the wires that you need to run high suppression. That's the 3 main key components when it comes to electronic ignition. If you skimp out on the wires and you don't use the proper wires, you're going to burn up your electronic ignition. If you don't run the proper coil, you're going to burn out your electronic ignition. Change your coil, change your wires, put your HEI in, your electronic ignition. You'll be fine. You'll run it good. The next thing they actually suggest is you don't have to change out your plugs to a hotter plug. That is, you can run your recommended plug. What they do ask you to do is, if you want to get maximum performance out of your electronic ignition, jump your gap up about 3 thousandths from what the factory gap is. Very simple. If you have a 21 thousandths gap, jump that puppy up to 24. Jump up to 25. You're fine. You can go a little higher on the gap because now you're putting out a higher of a spark. That's it. Other than that, don't deviate from your spark plugs. The spark plugs you have are just fine. So that, in a nutshell, is pretty much the breakdown of an HEI setup. I'm going to spin this camera around. I'm going to show you on this gasser how I did it, what I did. It's so simple. I mean, changing these over to electronic ignition doesn't take any more. Taking your time, like slow, smoking a cigar, even drinking some of your coffee while you're doing it, 20 minutes, you're probably done. It's extremely easy. Let me spin this around and I'm going to show you on this one right here. And then we're going to go out to the diesel. Haven't started it in over a week. We're going to go ahead and fire it up and see how fast it fires off. Because let me tell you, last Friday, it's the first time I started that tractor all winter. Cranked and cranked and cranked. It hit off a couple of times. Chug, 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 boom, died. Cranked and cranked. I mean, it just, oh my God, it was like... So, Yeah, even the Goldie hit its maximum limit on cranking. And I just wanted to test it and see, because I already had the electronic ignition in hand. I was already changing it over Saturday anyway, but I just wanted to see on Friday how easy or hard it started. It was a bitch. I even put liquid cocaine down in the pipe. She hit off and she ran just a little bit and she died. And then she cranked it. It was just relentless. So I gave up on it on that Friday. Saturday morning, me and my son went out. I was showing him how to do the electronic ignition. We switched it over. It didn't even hit a second crank, and that thing fired right off and ran beautiful. Switched over to diesel, no problem. Let it get nice and warm, got the temperature up to about 160. Let it pretty much run. You want to throttle it up and down. You don't want to just sit at a dead idle, because it's never really too good for a diesel, honestly, on these old ones. Throttled up and down a couple times, got the heat on there, shut it down. Let it sit for about 2-3 minutes, put it back on gas, fired right up. Never did that before. Never fired right up that fast. It always gave me a fit on a hot start, firing it back up. I'm a believer in it. So once we got done that, it started to drizzle. So we came in here, and I did it on the gas. I switched it over real fast. Honestly, as easy as it was, I didn't even bother doing a video on it, because the fact of I can show you how to do this by talking about it. Literally, I can teach you just by telling you. It's so simple. But anyway, let me switch this camera around and let me show you the product, and let me show you what I got going on. Okay, so here is the coil that we're running in both of them. Low resistance, 6 ohm coil. See, very hot. But she's got 45,000 volts in this ignition coil, and these are internally resisted. So it's pretty much, once you put it on, hook it up to your wire and you're done. Very, very simple. Nothing special about these, except for the fact that they're nice and hot. Second thing is your electronic ignition. Again, the PerTronix is what I ran in here. You got some different ones you can go with. Make sure that you get that part number. Ignition 4-cylinder IHC coil 1442. You want to make sure this is the one you get for these IH tractors, because there's another model out there. I can't remember what it was, but it is the wrong one. So this is what you want. All right. And that's pretty much the brain right there. That's how it comes. You got to put the connectors on, and I'll talk about that in a second. Excellent setup. Now these are the wires that I put on the diesel, only because the fact of they didn't have any more of these in stock on eBay. So I picked up these wires off of Amazon. So I picked up their spark plug wires, and when we got to the diesel, I'll show you these. The only issue with these wires is the diesel plug around the porcelain is fatter. This section through here is fatter on the diesels, so it's a little harder to get those wires around that plug. So I had to use basically like a sacrificial plug to kind of pre-stretch them out a little bit. Then I was able to snap them on. But anyway, here's the part number to my wires. These worked beautiful on the diesel, so there's no reason why they wouldn't work fine on this gas as well. So the only reason I did buy 2 different sets is because of the fact that they didn't have this one in stock. But anyway, here you go. Here's your part number right there. So if you decide you need some wires, you can go on Amazon and find these. You might be able to go on eBay and find these. I don't know. I didn't look on eBay. But anyway, so there's your wires. These are high suppression wires specifically for electronic ignition. It even says when you buy these wires, you know, now hold on, let me make sure I say that the proper way. Yeah, it says actually on the listing, these are for electronic ignition. When you find these on eBay from the guy, actually from any of them selling them, they will actually say not for use with electronic ignition, because the fact of these are copper core, these are solid core. You can even see the difference in the thickness of the wires. So there's a difference there. Go with the proper wires. Don't keep your copper wires, even though people say it runs. I've run it for years that way. Yes, but there's a chance that you're burning it out, or it's going to burn out because of your wires. Why not just go ahead and spend the 60, 70 bucks and just buy a set of wires? Be done with it. It's no big deal. Anyway, so there's the coil. And let me pop this open, and I'll show you the internal. And like I said, it's so simple. What's the old commercial? Was it Geico? Even so simple a caveman can do it. Well, pretty much the same deal. And now I gotta find my rotor. Hang on. Of course, it always has to fall when you're trying to film something. Here's your little magnetic pickup, basically. And I'm gonna slide this off. All right. There's your unit right here. So, in a nutshell, you do not have to remove this plate here. You do not have to take these screws out, any of the 3 side screws out. You do not have to remove this, so do not remove this plate. All you have to do is remove the condenser, the points, clean it up, and then it comes with these screws right here, the little Phillips. You screw these back into place where the condenser and the points and all were. These little nuts right here secure the brain to this plate they supply. Give yourself a little bit of slack in your wires so they're not tight. Push it on through, just like this. All right, out the side. Take your magnetic pickup, and see, it's got its little square head. Kind of fit over top of your shaft right here. Push it on. Okay, just like that. That's it. That's all you do. Put on your rotor, like that. And I just put this little dust cover back on right here. That's it. That's technically all you have to do to install this to the inside of your distributor. That's all it takes. Now we're going to go ahead and, as soon as I pop this back on, hang on a second. Alright, now once you have that installed inside, that's it. That's all you need to do. Now you have your 2 wires coming out. So simple that your black goes to negative, your red goes to positive. Just give yourself, if you're planning on using this outside in the weather or whatever, just give yourself a very mild drip loop. You don't want anything so long that, say if you're driving through the brush, you don't want a tree branch coming through, grabbing your wires and yanking them out. So you don't need these things a mile long hanging down your hydraulic lines. Just give yourself a little bit of drip. That's all you need. Just that way, in case moisture hits on there, it can just drop off. That's it. These are pretty snug. This fit around here anyway, so it does seem like it works pretty good. If you wanted to, just dab it with a little bit of sealant at the very tip. Seal that puppy right off if you have to. Do it from the inside, whatever. You're good the way it is. That's it. That's all you do for electronic ignition. Very simple. Change the brain, change the coil, change your wires, regap your plug 3 thousandths higher. They actually say 3 to 5 thousandths. So if you go 4 thousandths, boom, you're happy. That's what I did. I went 4 thousandths higher. I guess I should have said that before. But anyway, that's all you do. That's it. Electronic ignition. Very simple, very easy, very clean, very done. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the wiring real fast on this. And then we're going to head out. And we're going to fire up that diesel. Now, I did actually, one of my viewers actually said that they noticed that I had a 460 in the background next to my H. And you're correct. Yes, it is a 460 out there. I haven't had a chance to pull it in and really go through it. I did have a chance once I got it. It didn't run. I did have a chance to mess with it. I got it running. I'm going to pop a video up right now. All right, you hear that? She runs. Something just doesn't sound right with it, and I'm not really sure because I haven't had a chance to dig into it yet. All the glow plugs are replaced, so I got all good glow plugs. And I checked them all. I bench tested every one of them, and I know they work. And then I checked them as I put them into the wires. I test them, and yes, they all glow. But for some reason, she doesn't want to start unless you give her a couple shots. That's the only way she'll fire off. And then once she does fire off, it chugs, as you heard, puffs out its white smoke, and then it really doesn't clear up much. Even after it starts to warm up a tad, it just pretty much sounds like that. So I'm not sure on that one yet exactly what it is. I don't know. Maybe if I got to flush that diesel out of there and put all fresh stuff in. I've already blown out the return line. The return line is clear. I messed with the injection pump a little bit. As you see, it runs, but I did notice that with it sitting, it seems like the fuel is backflowing. I'm guessing somebody must have took out that check valve out of that return line, because it looks like, I guess, the fuel is coming back, and it looks like it's saturating something inside of that injection pump and it's making it leak out, and the injection pump's pretty wet all over, not just an area or a drip. So I know it's got some issues somewhere with that injection pump. I haven't had a chance to pull the injectors out and do a pressure test on them. I don't know if they're the 9/16 or the 5/8 hex, ends on them. I know that that affects the pressure, the PSI that they're supposed to blow out at, or pop at. I got to check that. But hey, if anybody saw the video and you have any ideas as far as why that particular one might be sounding that way, hey, I'm always open for ideas or suggestions, maybe if you had the same situation. But it could be a bad head gasket. It could be anything. I don't know. I haven't gotten into the internals of that engine yet. I'm trying to get these two 450s done. And then I got to rebuild that engine on that Cub. Put the front seal, all that stuff in it. And then once I get those done, I may pull that one around just so I can dig into it and just see if I can get it running correctly. I'm not ready to do any more restorations on these yet. Not until I can finally get a building up in the back, because I'm out of room. I'm severely out of room. Anyway, all right, so that's enough of that tractor. But yes, it is a 460 back air. I have the Super A. I have the 450 diesel, the 450 gas. I have the 300 row crop. I have the 43H. I have a 55 300 utility that's got the backhoe and the Henry front bucket on it that's going to get restored. I do have a 56 300 utility that I started a video on. I haven't had a chance to jump back on that tractor yet that's in there. Then I got the Cub, and then I have another Cub. So yeah, I got a few projects here going on. But obviously the two 450s and the Super A are good. So it gives me an opportunity for my next project, which is the Cub, and then that 460. So anyway, all right, I'm going to start talking about this wiring on here, and I'm going to kind of explain a little bit of what I got going on, what I've done to this 450 so far. And I didn't put the wiring together on the dash because I wanted to make it so I could explain it the best I can. Anyway, all right, let me flip this around. Let's talk about it. All right, I did notice that in my last video, I said I was putting up a montage of pictures on some stuff I did assembly on, and apparently I forgot to put those montage of pictures up. So you know what, we're just going to do a walk around, and that'll kind of take in place of those pictures that I said I was going to do. Let me sit this down here. All right, so on the 450 gasser, let's start at the beginning. I went ahead and obviously did the video putting together the fan assembly and the water pump and all that. I did put the brackets on for the one-wire alternator. The brackets from Brillman, everything fit great. The alternator is a Denso. I think it's a 30 or 40 amp. I got that from Amazon, only because Effective was a good price. Hopefully it works okay. I'm not sure yet. I guess we'll find out once it starts, and I'll see how the charging is. The belt that I end up using on this is a 31-inch belt. That actually seemed to work very nice. Didn't really have to put a lot of tension on it. It actually has plenty of slack in it because I think it's supposed to be like 1.25 inches or an inch or something like that. But anyway, she's good with the slack. Everything lined up good off the bracket they gave me. It went to the back side instead of the front side like the original. I did have to put a spacer here to get this nice and lined. Everything lined up really good through here. I did cut and make a spacer for down in here. I haven't tightened this up yet. This is all still loose. But everything lined up really nice. This belt has a slight twist to it, but you can see it lines up really nice, perfectly straight. This was folded in the package. I'm not sure why they folded these, but it was folded and it has a stupid little crease right here. I got the belt on, so that's good to go. I did go ahead and I turned this, adjusted it, got it to where it has the proper setting, which again I had to look back in the book and see what it was. I think it's like 1.25 inches or something there. That's how much slack they want in it. Got it set, and as I explained before, when you tighten down this jam nut, make sure it's inside that groove right there, not on your threads when you tighten this thing down, because if you do that, you're going to mar these threads. You're going to have a hell of a time backing this off to replace the belt. Make sure when you set this, you set it inside the groove. And that's it for that. We already went through the electronic ignition. We already know that part. I did put the hydraulic lines on here. So they're on. All new O-rings are installed, so they're good. I got it clamped where it's supposed to be. Locking her solid in place, and it's good. All the way back into here. All new hydraulic line, O-rings and everything are in here. So she's good. Up here, got the hard lines back on. They run back down and around. And as you see, I have them sitting next to the seat, but I don't have them bolted in yet because I'm not sure if I'm going to move this out of the way to get the console on here, because I don't want to scratch that console up. I did hook up the levers for the hydraulics, so everything is in, everything is good, everything is working, everything is perfect. Very good. I did put one of my steps on here. I didn't tighten it down yet again, but it's on there. And as you see, once I put my fender on, and my fender sits over here, it gives me plenty of room to step and climb up on this tractor. Again, steps on these things make it so much more pleasant jumping up. It's way easier. If you want one of those, you can hit me up. 7valleysfarmalls@gmail.com. I have made a ton of steps in the past couple weeks. Oh my God, I've made so many. I have a whole bunch pre-cut and fabricated and ready to go. I have them all ready because I've been getting so many orders. I finally had to take a day and just cut a whole bunch, and that's just some of them I have cut. Yeah, I've been flooded with those. But anyway, and as you saw, I already put this together, the belt pulley, all that stuff's all back in. I did put the steering shaft on, and I did put together the throttle, the rod and everything. New springs, roll pin. I haven't bent this one around yet. I did put a chrome washer on here to lock in place. It sets in the grooves perfectly, nice and deep in there. So that way there's no popping it back out. Let me see, what else have I done that I didn't show you guys? Let's go around to this. Yes, again, when you put these things together, a lot of times stuff is everywhere on the reassembly portion. And again, you saw the water pump, the new Zerks, you saw all that when I did all that stuff. That's right, I did get some new clips for the wiring harness. All I gotta do is back those off, screw those down, clip those down. That way it holds the wiring harness up where it's supposed to be. Because I hate when the wiring is not run like the factory wiring. Excuse me. It's not beer 30 yet because it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. But it is coffee time, so hang on. Alright, it drives me up a freaking wall when people don't do the wiring the way it is in the book. All you gotta do is get one of your manuals. I mean, I got plenty of the manuals here, but it shows the pictures of the tractor in its original state, the way it came from International Harvester. I can't find the page right now. I'll find it. You know what? Hang on. Okay, just very simple little picture, like right here. You see the wiring? Okay, you got the battery cable going across the fuel tank and then drops down to the starter. And then you have the hydraulic line for the power steering. It goes horizontal, and then it goes in behind the starter and it runs its way up. The upper one goes across and up. That's the way it came. That's the way it's supposed to be run. When I see some people with these tractors and the wiring is coming out of the console and they got the wiring draped on an angle going this way and dropped to the starter, oh my God, clean that up. Anyway, so I haven't hooked up to 37A yet. But anyway, so yes, the wiring, the battery cable, the hydraulic line goes up just like it did in the manual, and it's going to go up behind the air cleaner like it's supposed to. The hydraulic line for the power steering down here, I have it running behind the starter and up behind the air cleaner and over to the power steering like it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to look. The wires are supposed to come across because the side panels will be here going across. All you're going to see is now the wires dropping down. You're not supposed to see them going across. And then everything is tied in through here. And then again, I'm going to make sure that once I'm done all my wiring, I have a Velcro strap on there temporarily. It's going to be set up over here. So that way everything stays up like that, clean and tight like it's supposed to. Like I said, it's not hard following, just follow the original picture. It's so simple. But anyway, so that's enough of that griping about that. And I did have somebody ask me about the power steering. No, I haven't put the power steering on yet. No, I didn't rebuild the one that's going on here because everything was actually pretty good. It had a very, very, very minor drip in the very front shaft off the seal. Not enough right now to warrant taking it apart, but I do have another power steering unit on the floor that I am going to do a video on the rebuild on it, and then paint it, and then I'm going to switch them out. Put that power steering on here, take the one off here, off, and then I'll rebuild this one later. So yes, I will be doing a video on it, but that's going to be after this tractor's done. So anyway, so yes, so I got the wiring through and everything around ran the way it's supposed to. Now, you guys may be thinking, what in the freaking pig snot does he have going on with this gauge console? The reason I did it this particular way is so I could show you guys the wiring. It's not the way it's going to stay. So let's jump on up here and let me show you what it is. Alright, see how it looks like a mess of wires on cardboard? I wanted to do it this way, and I have a zip tie to the TA handle, just so I can show what is running where and what everything is plugged into. Alright, my apologies. Of course, somebody's got to call me on a Saturday and go over whatever. I'm off work, bro. Don't call me. Okay, where do I begin? Alright, so the wiring harness from Brillman is very, very, very simple. And again, all you got to do is follow their wiring diagram. And everything is numbered. And everything corresponds, for the most part, depending on what kind you have, it will correspond over to what was original in the book. Just go over your diagram. It makes it very simple. If you have to figure out what is what here, just go off the numbers here, and it'll tell you what goes where. Very simple setup right here. Again, they label everything to make it so freaking easy. One thing that I do notice a lot of people seem to have a hiccup on is, like this one for instance, wire number 41 goes to the side of your solenoid. This is your battery wire, because obviously your battery cable's coming down and they're both going into the same lug. This wire here, a lot of people don't know which side on the ammeter it goes on. Follow that up to 41. That's right here. Here's your ammeter. You always want this one here going to your battery side. So that way, okay, easy way to test this is, you have a battery side, you have a load side. Battery side goes to your starter. Load side goes to everything else, to power stuff. You got your charging unit right here. That's your alternator wire, the blue one. And then you have lights. Then you have number 48, which is right here. It goes to your ignition switch. All right. Then the other side of your ignition switch jumps out, goes over to your push button. All right. Then your push button on the other side comes back down and goes to the top of your solenoid to start this thing up. And then you have 37A. It's your coil wire. That one is going to go the same. It's going to go on to with number 40. Now that's going to go over to your coil to power everything up. Very, very simple setup. Then they have a number, I think it's 46. No, is it 46? What side was your battery side? I have to look back at the book. Like, no, it's 50. Okay, so 50. That's not 50. No, because, yeah, 46 is your root lights. Okay, let's get back to this. Number 50, okay, that's your battery, pretty much your hot wire coming in. Your 50 goes to the battery side of your headlight switch, and then the other side of it goes to your fuse. This is your other wire that actually comes down, goes around 43 and 49. That plugs in right here. This is actually what is sending power into the fuse. The fuse sends power out to 46. And then, oh my God, I got these labels so screwed up. Sorry guys, to 50. All right, and then 50 will power up your switch. When you turn the switch on, it will turn on your headlights to a dim. And this side over here turns on your taillights. These will turn on the same time. When you turn it over to bright, your taillights are already going to be bright. It's going to switch this over. It's going to run through here, and then it's going to turn to bright. And then that's how it works on your switch. Like I said, trying to make this pretty simple as far as the setup. And now as far as when I run the cigarette lighter, all I got to do is run, this is your hot right here in the middle. You're going to run this over to the battery side of your switch right here. And then I'm going to put a ground right here, even though it's going to be grounded to the metal dash. I'm still going to run a ground from here. And I'm going to bring it over and tie it into this bolt here This is only clipped on here. The reason being is because this is for taillights. This one right here, I do have to remove the battery box, which is why I didn't bolt those in. Your pink 52s, all your pinks are ground. Your pink 52 is pigtail together. That works off your headlights right here. So your headlight pink is your ground. Your headlight black is your main power. They go into the back of your headlights like that. Very simple. Let me see if I put this up here because I don't want this falling over, because obviously I don't have the headlight mount on there yet. And these are the headlights with the guide glass and everything in them. And no, I didn't want to go with LEDs, even though it's 12 volt. I like the look of the original looking lights on these tractors because I'm not farming with this out at nighttime where I need the super, super bright lights. My personal opinion is on these tractors, the dim is absolutely useless. I don't know why they even gave that option. Bright. Back in the day, dim and bright. Dim was about the normal, and when you turn it on bright, it was like, whoa, you know. Now, the bright is like, ugh, can barely see. That's just the way it was. So anyway, I don't really care about the dim. We're only going to the bright. Let me go ahead and, the battery's connected. Let me turn on the switch on my makeshift panel. Let's come around this side. Now again, I am doing this with one hand here, so bear with me. 45 and 44 is for your breakaway connector. That's for your plug for your implements, which goes here. I do have that on its way, so I can put that on there and run those into that. Your number 47 and your 46 is for your taillights. This I have to ground yet, so I do have it sitting here against the bolt, so it's almost like a temporary grounding. And then your 46 is going to run into here. This is the red and white light, so let me see if I can turn this on without spinning this around the cardboard. Hang on. Before we do, one thing I forgot to go over was the original light that goes up in here. Where the hood goes, that hangs over and lights up the gauges, even though these are all pre-lit. So most likely I'm probably not going to go ahead and even use this light, because I'm going to use these. But with this light being lit and reflecting down, it'll help light these up. So I may go ahead and just do all three lights and this top light. Wire number 53 is going to be for that particular setup right here. So you're going to use your housing if you have it. You're going to go ahead and strip out your guts. They give new spring. They give the new backing plate. They give the shrink wrap, the clip, and then the wire with the brass end that is going to be in that way. For your bulb, you will have to get your own bulb. They won't supply that. This is the old bulb that came out. But that wire 53 is to this. And then that also is going to come back and it's going to hook into your light side, your headlight side of your switch. So when you turn on the headlights, it illuminates your gauges. So like I said, this interim panel is ready to go. I did the cardboard just so I can kind of show you guys what's going on. But anyway, almost forgot about that wire right there. So, all right, now let's get to it. All right, so let's head on out here to this diesel now. I did go ahead and make a change. I'm going to call Brillman on Monday just to verify what I am thinking. So I'll follow up with this at a later date if I'm correct. But one wire I'm not going to connect because of something very interesting I found out. Now let me just jump to the punchline. I did put my spark tester on there. I did turn the key ignition on. I did hit the starter. And oh my God, that spark is bright inside that tester. Real nice spark. So everything's working as it should. I obviously have to put gas in it and hook the oil line up before I actually want to hear it fire up because I don't want to shoot oil across the garage. But anyway, let me switch this around. I'm going to show you what I just eliminated. So I'm thinking because this wiring harness, when I got it, it's not their fault, it's mine. Because I didn't know they did custom setups. But this wire 37A, from what I'm seeing in the book, obviously this wire is supposed to go to the starter, and then it goes to the ballast resistor, and then the resistor jumps to the coil, you know, and all that good stuff. Well, long story short, with the way this is set up, 40 obviously goes to the top post of your solenoid. 40 also comes up here to the side of your switch, if it'll focus, to your switch. And then it goes over to 37. Now, this next wire right here is number 54. 54 loops around. Obviously, it's long because it goes down the side of a console. Loops around and goes to the other side of your key switch right here. So you turn the key on, it shoots power to one side of your ignition switch. You push the button, and then it sends power down, and then it's supposed to obviously fire everything up on the tractor. So from what I'm thinking, so what happened is when I connect this 37A to the top and I turn the key on, I think what it's doing is it's sending power, because it's going from the key up to the switch, so it's sending power to it, but then it's energizing 37, which is focus. It's energizing 37. 37 goes around and goes to the positive side of the coil. 37A is connected to the positive side of the coil as well. And then it's looping back around and it's going to here. So when the key turns on, it's sending power to the solenoid and it's making this crank when I turn the key to the on position without touching the starter. When I eliminate this wire off of here, I can turn the key on. Nothing happens. I press the starter button, the tractor cranks, and it shows fire in the coil. The only thing I gotta double check is when I turn that key on, does the coil have power to it when the key is on? I didn't check that. I guess I gotta check that real quick. Let me check. Hang on. Okay, I did check, and yes, when I turn the key to the on position, it does send power to the coil, and the coil does stay hot. The reason I wanted to check that was because I wanted to make sure that the way it's set up, that it didn't only have power to the coil when I push the starter button. Because if I do that, and then release the starter button, it would technically kill power to the coil. So, from what I'm thinking is, from this particular wiring harness, because of when I ordered it and got it, I didn't specify exactly what I was doing. And then I think this wire here was basically for the ballast resistor setup. So this can't be used because it's technically, in a way, energizing and backfeeding to power everything to the starter when I turn that key on. If that makes sense. I think I'm correct. So what we're going to do is I'm going to call them on Monday just to verify it. So it will be in the next video once I verify it. But I'll look at it this way. The next video, once we hook the console up and hook all that stuff up, that's going to be the day we fire this thing up. So if I'm correct, you'll see also because it's going to start. Anyway, we're going to go out to the diesel. And one thing I want to do to it real fast that I haven't had a chance to do is gap the infamous spark plugs in a diesel. So some people haven't seen this style of spark plug before. You can see how, the electrode is on the side, not on the top. So these, you got to be a little bit more careful, I guess you could say, when you gap them, because you're not bending this upwards, you're bending this outwards. Now these are the spark plugs that I replaced in it a little while ago. So I'm going to go ahead and re-gap these. I'm putting these at 26 thousandths. It's supposed to be 23 factory. It does have electronic ignition now, so I'm going to push these up to 26. It's 3 thousandths. So we're going to come on over here. And that's the first one. Second one. Third and fourth. So they're not awful to get to. I have a little trick to get to these easy enough. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I gap these. Actually, I'm going to say I'm going to show you on the next one because I got to get my camera stand. Well, we are going to use an actual feeler gauge and put in there. Hang on, let me see if I can set this phone just on my seat. Okay, it should work enough for what I need to show you. Anyway, so we have a 26 thousandths feeler gauge. So you want to make sure that when you bend this electrode over, you just bend it over like you would do basically, you want to put this almost like you would a set of points. You want to be able to put this in until you feel that very, very ever so slight drag without pushing this over, because that'll give you a false reading. If you just try to put a normal gapper in there and you try to run your gapping wheel in there, it's not going to show it's true. So you got to bend this, put your feeler gauge in, feel for the resistance, and then you have the proper gap. So 26 thousandths is good. So I'm going to go ahead and put these back in. The reason I took them out anyway is because I wanted to clean up a little bit of the red paint that I got on the porcelain all from when I painted this thing. So let's go ahead and get another one out, and I'll show you the gapping and put them back in. All right, so first, let me go ahead and tighten this one back up. This one here, in order to clear this manifold, I just use a standard 7/8 socket instead of the spark plug run, because it clears way better. Okay, that's good. Get this wire back on. You can see how small the opening is on these wires, so getting over those fat plugs is a challenge. Not trying to fat shame them, but I'm just saying. Okay, here we go. All right, there's that one. Now let's get off number 2. Can't really say I'm a big fan of wanting to pull these back off. They were a pain in the butt putting them on that day. But we got to do it. Alright, so the easiest way to get inside that one is use your spark plug socket with the hole in the side, and then you can just put your drift pin through it like that and use it as a wrench that way. This is about the easiest way to get these out without taking that manifold off. I should say it's a knuckle buster though. That one actually didn't come out too bad. I know some people say they have to take the manifold off to get to these. Some people say they don't. Well, I'm just showing you, you don't. You don't have to pull the manifold for this. So you can see from the way the points was running, and I don't know, just some of the issues that this thing was having, you can see how these ran. Yeah, they got dark through there, but they ran a little white, and then they started collecting a lot of crap on the end of the electrode. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up real quick, come over here, and then show you how I clean the rest of this up when I get it off the... okay. I'm going to run it real easy on a brass bar wheel, very slow, just to knock this paint off the porcelain. Okay, like I said, ever so lightly, just enough to clean it up. Now I want to run sandpaper through here. Just make sure there's nothing between the contacts on that side. Same with the plug, put a little bit on this side. Now, in case anybody's wondering the number of the plugs that I'm using in here, it's the original D89Ds. I did find the original plugs for it. Paid a hefty price, or like $10 a plug, but it's all good. You really shouldn't have to replace these often. Okay, so that's cleaned up enough where I know I'm good. Now we're going to check the gap, see how far off this thing is. Yeah, she was off a little bit. Alright, so let's push that over. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you'll see this moving. You can see it slightly bending over when the gap isn't right. So I'm trying to real easily push it over that way. Yeah, see, she's still off. I need my other tool that hooks here and pulls. Let me find that real quick. Hang on. Yeah, I can't find my old ring gapper. It's the one that's got on the outside of the wheel. It's got all the metal wire hooks on there. A lot of times you can put that on there, clip it over, and give it a pull back and open those up, but can't find it. Alright, well anyway, I got it pushed over to the point where the gauge just goes in, where I could just feel the slight drag, but not enough where I feel like it's pushing that over, and that's it. That's all there is to really gapping these. You just got to be careful. So, alright, 2 more to go, and then put some fresh fuel in this thing, and then let's fire her up. All right, let's do it. Now, she's always temperamental with the choke. Never know sometimes if it wants full choke, half choke, or no choke. This thing's very picky. So let's go just a little bit. Keys on. We're going to go ahead and let her run for a minute, let it get a little bit of heat. I do have to add some oil to the injection pump. And then we're going to shut it down and see how it starts back up. That electronic ignition works really good though. for a second. Let's see how well she starts right back up on gas. Sometimes at this point, this is when she usually gives you a fit, and she wants to crank quite a bit before she fires off. So let's see what happens. Absolutely perfect. Alright, well, that's all I wanted to do and show you guys on this today. Mainly it was about the other one. But I do want to show you these awesome key tags that I had made up on Amazon. I got one for the diesel and one for the gas. So that way when everything's all painted, that is slapping against the paint. Not a hard beaner, but scratches in it. So anyway, so that's it for that. So I'm going to turn all the fuel off, let this thing cool down, throw the cover back on it. Because now we're to the point where I decided I'm putting the loader on this tractor. Because that one's just getting too pretty now to put the loader on. I'm going to use that for the scraper blade. Put the 3-point adapter on it, use it for all that stuff. But I think this is going to be our loader tractor. So what's going to have to happen is, yeah, let me spin this around. We'll talk about this. All right, so yeah, this is a lot to talk about, but I'll make it very quickly. So what I decided is, since this one came out so nice, just the idea of now putting that bucket on there and scraping it all up, I don't know, I don't really want to do it. So I decided what I'm going to go ahead and do is use this one here for all my 3-point setup, everything I need to pull from the hay wagon to all my shit off the fast, all that. That's what this tractor is going to do. This one now is going to go ahead and be the loader tractor. It does have the narrow front, but I do have the tires kicked out at the furthest point. It's going to be just as stable. It's fine. And from what I'm lifting, what I'm moving, this thing will do the trick just exactly how I need it. So what we're going to have to do is, once I have this one now started up and moving back under tone power once again, by that point, all the sheet metal is going back on it, everything's getting, and this thing is done. I mean, literally, it's only like, I'm not going to say like days away, but I'm going to say like 8 to 12 hours worth of work. This thing is done. It's ready to go. I just got to fit it in between my work schedule. But this thing will be ready to go. As soon as I get this thing done, I'm going to have to roll it out, put it in the other shop, and then I'm going to set up the paint booth, and I'm going to finish painting the sheet metal for the diesel. Because once I get the sheet metal painted for the diesel, which I'm not clear coating it, I'm not going that far. That's just going to be straight out the Rust-Oleum with hardener, you know, everything in it, and that's it. Once I get that done, and I know the sheet metal's back on here, then we're going to go ahead and use one of the two to help pull that loader down to the driveway so I can go ahead and work on the restoration of that. Once I get that thing all set up, bring the gantry over here, use the gantry to lift that loader up, get it slid onto this diesel, and then that'll be the video of restoring that and hooking it up to that. Everything is ever so changing, but I didn't expect this one to come out this good. I had a feeling it would. I just didn't think it was going to come out that good. So, yeah, that's what I decided to do. Let me show you that overflow that I was talking about on the diesel that I'm going to fix. And that's how I figured out the issue, because I got to fix it on this before I put the tank on. Now, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the original radiators to follow and mimic the hard line. And I'm going to probably go ahead and nip off that one, nip off this one, and I'm going to go ahead and rebend, put a new hard line on like it's supposed to be, slip it over, and then solder it on to the overflow so it's just like the original. But let me show you what I'm talking about. I put a slit in it just so that way it can relieve pressure. But see how this comes out? I don't know if you can see it, because I can't see it because the sun's so bright right here. And yes, I haven't finished the body work on this yet. That's what I was just talking about. But anyway, I still can't see. All right, see how that overflow comes out all the way to this edge, and it puts a hard kink going down? Well, that blocks this. You don't want to block this. So for now, I'll just cut a slit in here just so it can relieve pressure until I can take care of this. So what I'm probably going to do is lop this thing off to about here, flare out the new hose, put it over top, solder it on, and then have it running down around as the original intended. Because that right there is no good. So these radiators which, you know, I forgot to put the footage up of putting this on. So I'm going to work on that video. It's going to be a late video, but I am going to put the video on when I did this, where I went over everything about this radiator. It's very nice, but I don't like how they did that. But anyway, hopefully, even though this wasn't like, I guess, per se, a full-on hands-on video, hopefully I did enough in the video where I kind of showed you guys a little bit of both tractors. Things, how they work, how they tick, how they run, what we got to do. The next video will be showing assembly, not talking about it, where we're going to go ahead and start putting the console and everything on here. And then get all the gauges and all the stuff and everything all moved over and all hooked up, and it's going to be a fun one. So that's going to be the next video. So make sure you guys hit the notification bell, like, subscribe, and share. And again, always appreciate you watching. Please, again, you now 77% of you watchers, hit that subscribe button. Just like they always say in everybody's video, it doesn't cost you a dime, but it helps us out greatly. So if you could do that, much appreciated. Other than that, you guys have a good day. If you have any questions on the tractors, anything I can help answer, ask away. Other than that, that's it. So have a good weekend.